So, imagine you've been waiting years for this. On October 9th, Paramount was supposed to premiere the next massive chapter in the Avatar, The Last Airbender universe.
Right, the Aang era continuation. It was huge.
Yeah, exactly. A fully animated 90-minute feature film. It was supposed to be this massive cultural moment for a franchise that, really defined a generation.
Oh, absolutely.
But instead, you wake up one morning, months before the premiere, and millions of people have already seen it.
It's wild.
And we aren't talking about, a grainy cell phone video of a trailer.
No.
Someone uploaded the entire finished 90-minute movie directly to Twitter, to 4chan, torrent sites everywhere. It's just out there, totally free, months early.
I mean, it is a staggering breach. When you look at the landscape of modern entertainment, sure, leaks happen, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like scripts get out, casting sheets get photographed.
Yeah.
Maybe a VFX house accidentally drops a rendering of a character.
Right, standard stuff.
But the total unmitigated release of a finished feature film, that is the absolute worst case scenario for a studio. It effectively vaporizes a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign overnight.
Which is completely unprecedented in recent memory. And that is exactly what you and I are unpacking today on this deep dive.
Yeah, there's so much to get into.
We're looking at the massive fallout from this leak. And for our sources today, we're pulling from some incredibly detailed, real-time breakdowns by pop culture channel Clownfish TV, specifically hosted by Neon.
Right.
And we're pairing that with this fascinating wave of global audience commentary that flooded in right after the leak.
Yeah.
We want to figure out how the machinery of Hollywood actually allowed this to happen.
Because our mission today isn't just to, play cybersecurity detective.
No, it's way bigger than that.
Exactly. We are going to map out an incredibly complex perfect storm. We're looking at a massive corporate reshuffling that has left employees feeling completely disillusioned.
Right.
We're looking at a deeply fractured fandom, the shifting ideological rules in voice casting, and maybe most importantly, the collateral damage suffered by the actual artist caught in the middle.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the sheer mechanics of this leak are, they're just absurd.
They really are.
We have to start with the anatomy of the event itself. Like I said, this wasn't a 10-second clip. This was a high-quality 90-minute file.
Yeah.
And the very first excuse that started floating around the internet, like the story the supposed leaker tried to sell to avoid immediate legal annihilation, was that Nickelodeon accidentally emailed them the file.
Accidentally emailed.
Yeah, during a customer service interaction about missing merchandise.
Which is a narrative that absolutely collapses the second you understand how digital infrastructure works inside a major studio.
Right. Claiming you accidentally emailed a fully rendered feature film is like saying you accidentally mailed someone your living room couch.
That's a great way to put it.
It requires deliberate effort. You don't just oopsie a 30-gigabyte file into a Gmail. So how does a studio actually handle a file?
Well, exactly. You physically cannot email a file of that size. Email servers typically cap attachments at, 25 megabytes?
Yeah, something tiny like that.
And a pristine theatrical quality feature film is anywhere from 30 to 50 gigabytes, depending on the compression.
Wow.
So when studios move files of that magnitude internally, like from color grading to sound mixing, they use highly secure proprietary transfer protocol.
Like what?
A really common one in the industry is Aspra. It's this high-speed data transfer service that requires dedicated client software.
Okay.
It requires specific user authentications, encrypted keys. It's locked down.
So if I'm an executive at Paramount, I can't just double-click an MP4 on my desktop.
Not at all. You have to log into a highly secure environment. And even if you do have the clearance to view it, the file is almost always heavily watermarked.
Oh, right. Like with your name on it.
Yes. Your name, your IP address, or a specific serial number subtly baked into the picture. Sometimes it's even in an invisible forensic layer.
So if it leaks, they know exactly who to sue.
Exactly. So to get a clean, unwatermarked, 90-minute cut of a film out to the public, someone didn't just hit the wrong button on it.
Right.
They had to deliberately circumvent layers of corporate security. They had to rip the file from a secure server, potentially strip its metadata, upload it to a massive third-party cloud drive like an anonymous Mega or Dropbox account, generate a public link, and physically post it to a forum.
It is a deliberate multi-step heist. Which brings us to the alternative theory from our sources, which frankly makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does.
But it paints an incredibly bleak picture of the internal culture. The working theory is that this was an inside job by a deep grunt.
And to understand the psychology there, like why an employee would risk federal prosecution to do something so destructive, you have to look at the massive corporate upheaval happening in the background at Paramount.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Because Nickelodeon, the studio that actually produced this film, is not operating under normal conditions.
Wait, hold on. Nickelodeon is owned by Paramount. They're a massive, multi-billion-dollar conglomerate.
Right.
Are you telling me their internal security or employee morale is so compromised that an angry IT guy can just drag and drop a multi-million-dollar movie onto the internet?
Under normal circumstances, no. But Paramount is currently going through one of the most turbulent corporate transitions in modern Hollywood history.
Right, the merger.
Exactly. Nickelodeon is actively in the process of being folded into CBS Studios. And at the macro level, Paramount itself is being acquired.
By the Ellisons, right, because that name comes up a lot in the Clownfish TV commentary. For the listener who maybe isn't reading the financial trades every morning, who are the Ellisons?
Right, it's vital context. David Ellison is the founder of Skydance Media, and he's the son of Larry Ellison, the billionaire co-founder of Oracle.
Okay, so big money.
Huge money. Skydance has been trying to acquire National Amusements, which is the holding company that controls Paramount. It's been a prolonged, messy, highly public corporate battle.
And that affects the employees how?
Well, whenever a massive merger like this happens, the acquiring entity comes in and immediately starts looking for redundancies.
Right.
Layoffs, budget cuts. They look for things to consolidate or write off to balance the massive debt they just took on.
The classic private equity playbook. You buy the house, but then you immediately sell off all the antique furniture to pay the...
That is a perfect analogy. And the distinct feeling on the ground, according to the sources covering this transition, is that the new corporate structure views Nickelodeon as an afterthought.
Really? Nickelodeon?
Yeah. It is perceived as a dead or legacy. In the eyes of the spreadsheet, it's not an active engine of growth. It's just a catalog of old IP.
Wow.
So when you fold a historically vibrant studio like Nickelodeon into the broader, more corporate CBS Studios framework, you strip away its autonomy.
So put yourself in the shoes of an employee sitting in those offices. You grew up loving Avatar. You got a job at Nickelodeon, which is a dream for so many animators.
Oh, absolutely.
But now you're watching these new executives treat your legendary studio like a box of old tax returns they have to store in the basement.
Yeah.
If the parent company truly sees this as a dead brand, does that corporate apathy directly breed the kind of employee resentment that leads to a multi-million-dollar leak?
It absolutely creates a systemic breakdown of loyalty. When a corporation signals to its workforce that the art being produced has no intrinsic value, that it's just inherited liabilities, the people handling that art lose their sense of protective stewardship.
That makes total sense.
If the C-suite treats the product like garbage, the internal culture devolves into, well, if you don't care about this, why should I?
Which is terrifying for a studio security. It suggests the leaker didn't do this to make money. They didn't sell the movie to a rival studio.
No, they uploaded it for free.
They did it purely to cause chaos.
It was an act of corporate sabotage.
Yeah.
I mean, the file was live online for roughly 12 hours before Paramount's lawyers and copyright strikes finally started taking the links down.
And 12 hours is an eternity on it.
Oh, it's game over. People downloaded it, chopped it up, mirrored it on hundreds of other servers. The dam broke, and you can't put the water back in.
But what is so fascinating about this perfect storm is that this resentment wasn't just generic malice. There was a specific trigger regarding how the movie was going to...
Right. The distribution pivot.
Exactly. This takes us into the clash between theatrical events and the streaming content mill. Because originally, this movie was slated for an October 9th theatrical.
And we have to pause and really look at the economics and the prestige of a theatrical release. For an animated film, securing a date on the global theatrical calendar is the ultimate validation.
It's a huge...
It is the studio signaling to the market and to the artist, this is an event. It demands a massive 40-foot screen, Dolby Atmos sound, and the collective experience of an audience paying $20 a ticket.
But Paramount abruptly pulled the plug on it. They completely punted the film, downgrading it to a direct-to-streaming release exclusively on Paramount Plus Line-Led.
Which is a decision driven entirely by the macroeconomic reality of the streaming wars.
Right.
Paramount Plus, like many services, requires a constant, aggressive pipeline of exclusive content to justify its monthly fee. They have to reduce subscriber churn.
So they feed the beast.
Exactly. If executives look at their Q4 projections and realize they don't have a big enough draw to keep people subscribed through the holidays, they will absolutely cannibalize a theatrical release to boost those quarterly numbers.
But the psychological impact of that decision found. Fans of the Avatar franchise were devastated by this downgrade.
Oh, the backlash was immediate.
Over 40,000 people signed an online begging Paramount to put the movie back. Think about 40,000 people actively organizing to say, please, we want to give you our money for it.
And Paramount completely ignored them.
Yeah, total radio silence.
This is where Clownfish TV draws a very direct parallel to Pixar during the pandemic.
Oh, right.
Remember when Disney made the controversial decision to take premium Pixar film like Soul, Luca, and turning red and bypass theaters entirely, sending them straight to Disney Plus haste.
Yeah, and at the time, people understood it because of the global health situation.
Yeah.
But then they just doing it.
Exactly. And many industry analysts argue that was the exact moment Pixar became devalued as a brand. When you take a piece of media that requires hundreds of artists work years and you dump it onto a streaming platform right next to reality TV dating show, you strip away the special.
You completely change the consumer psychology. It ceases to be high art. It ceases to be an event.
It just becomes streaming stuff.
It's just content you scroll past while folding laundry. And when Paramount announced they were doing this to the new Avatar movie, they essentially told the fan base, we don't think this is premium enough for theater.
And this is where the dynamic gets incredibly toxic. Because once the movie leaked, the fans started using that exact streaming downgrade to morally justify their piracy.
Right. The logic sweeping through the fan base goes exactly like this. Well, I wanted to see it in a theater. I signed the petition. I tried to do the right thing.
Yeah, I tried to give you my money.
Exactly. Paramount refused to listen. They're trying to force me to buy a Paramount Plus subscription, and I don't want to pay a monthly fee for a platform I don't use, so what the hell? I might as well just watch the leak for free.
What's fascinating here is how the modern consumer views access. They are weaponizing their piracy as a form of protest against a faceless corporation.
But from a business perspective, it's a nightmare for Paramount. A massive chunk of the people who were supposed to drive the social media buzz have already seen it.
The hype is dead.
The plot is spoiled.
Which is why Clownfish TV suggested a genuinely radical business.
Oh, I love this idea.
Since it's already leaked and everyone is talking about it, they suggested Paramount should just panic drop it into theaters immediately, just for a weekend.
Like, capitalize on the buzz before the window closes, but while the fans and the executives play this massive game of corporate chicken, we have to steer this conversation toward the actual humans involved.
Yes, the collateral damage.
The people who spent years drawing the frame. Because despite all this controversy, the animation itself is universally being praised as fantastic and good-looking.
It's vital we talk about this. The reactions from the actual artists who worked on the film are just devastating.
Our sources highlighted Julia Schul, who was a senior 2D animator on this film. She focused specifically on character acting,
which is incredibly tedious, painstaking work.
And she expressed deep heart. She and her team expected to celebrate years of hard work in a movie theater, and instead, she had to watch her shots get passed around Twitter like candy.
And she explicitly called out the fans' moral gymnastics.
Yeah, she did not hold back.
She stated very clearly that using Paramount's awful streaming decision to justify leaking and pirating the film is incredibly disrespectful to the artists.
We also saw commentary from Anna Gong, a background artist on the...
Right.
And she added that the only reason the movie looks so good, the only reason these fans are praising it, is because of the immense passion poured into it. She practically begged people to support the official releases.
Because if the official metrics fail, the studio won't afford to make more movies.
So, listener, think about it. You're a fan who loves this world so much, you sign a petition to save it, but then you illegally download it to stick it to the executive.
Right.
Are you actually hurting the executives, or are you just punishing the artists you claim to love?
The cold economic reality is that the executives already got paid.
Exactly.
The people who suffer are the animators whose future leverage and portfolio prestige are tied to the official success of the film.
But the streaming downgrade wasn't the only reason fans were boycotting and justifying piracy.
No, it was not.
There is a second, even more explosive controversy attached, one that fundamentally changes how animation is cast.
We need to examine this carefully and impartially,
Right.
focusing strictly on the mechanics of the industry shift and the observable reactions of the audience.
Absolutely. The second massive fan complaint, the issue driving a huge portion of the internet outrage, is that the original voice actors were replaced.
Right. The studio instituted a new casting mandate.
The 1.1 voice casting. The studio mandated that voice actors must perfectly match the race and appearance of their animated character.
For example, the character Toph was recast with a blind Asian.
And this is a massive shift from historical precedent in animation.
It completely upends it. The source points out that in the 80s and 90s, voice acting was entirely detached from physical appearance.
Right.
Rainbow Bright and Penny from Inspector Gadget were played by black girls.
I didn't actually know that about.
Yeah. And Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was played by Uncle Phil, James Avery.
A classic performance.
And Samurai Jack was famously voiced by Phil Lamar, a black man. No one cared about the visual mismatch because, as the source note, it's a cartoon.
I mean, if you take this rule to its extreme, like the source said, what are we going to do next? Tell the guy voicing Bugs Bunny to step down because we need to make room for actual rabbits in the animation.
Right, the logic becomes strained. And we have to objectively look at the intense fan backlash found in the source material.
Yeah, let's report on what the fans are actually saying.
Fans are outright refusing to support. They are claiming that woke politics and DEI reasons ruin the film.
And they are reviewing the new voice acting really harshly, right?
Yes, they are calling the new voice acting mid compared to the stellar animation. Fans are demanding the studio restore the original cast or they will completely boycott.
The mandate was clearly intended to create opportunities, right? Doors.
Absolutely, that was the intention.
But the source provides a glaring example of how this well-intentioned rule mechanically backfired on the very people advocating.
This brings us to the Pro-Z paradox.
Yeah, Pro-Z, very well-known voice actor, he strongly advocated for this one-point cast.
He was very vocal about it. He publicly stated, quote, "We need to get rid of the white people so there's more roles for me," referring to actors like Hank Azaria stepping down from non-white roles.
But it was basically a shotgun foot.
It was. The irony highlighted in the source is that Pro-Z was subsequently typecast.
Because the rule goes both ways.
Exactly. Because the new industry rule mandates actors must look like their characters, his agent couldn't get him auditions for anything other than Asian male characters.
He inadvertently restricted his own career pool. He locked himself out of playing aliens or monsters or anything else.
He built a wall to keep others out and locked himself inside a very small room.
Which is wild. But the implications go way beyond Lost. And this brings us to a brilliant insight from a global viewer in our source regarding the international dub.
This is a fascinating paradox.
If this authentic voice casting rule were applied worldwide, the entire international dubbing industry would collapse.
Because the demographics just don't match.
Right. The commenter points out that where they live, local voice actors are not Japanese, Korean, American, or Canadian. They are locals.
Exactly.
If a voice actor must perfectly match the character's exact ethnic background, non-English speaking countries could never dub foreign cartoons.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, animation was historically the great equalizer. Your physical appearance didn't matter in the booth, only your talent did.
Yeah.
Now, by tying the voice directly to the actor's physical reality, we really have to ask, are studios actually limiting artistic freedom on a global scale?
It's a huge question. So with the fandom fractured over casting, the artists devastated by and the parent company seemingly indifferent, what happens when this movie finally hits streaming in October?
Well, a commenter in the source makes a very direct comparison. They say this movie is facing the same bad future the Sonic movie was before they changed the design.
The Sonic ultimatum. Fans are issuing an ultimatum. Redo the voices with the original actors, or they won't watch it.
But evaluating that threat practically, it's totally different. Unlike Sonic, where fixing a CGI model was just a technical hurdle, an expensive one, but technical fixing this means entirely re-recording a movie that is already leaked in full.
Oh man, yeah, the ADR alone.
Right, and reversing a studio-mandated casting, plus spending money on a project Paramount seemingly already wrote off by sending it to streaming.
They are definitely not going to spend millions to re-record for Paramount Plus.
No, highly improbable.
But for fans who are totally alienated by all of corporate baggage, the recastings, the source offers an alternative.
The comic books.
Yes. The Dark Horse graphic novels by Gene, they successfully fill the lore gaps between Avatar and Korra without any of the corp.
It's just pure storytelling. No M&A drama, no casting man.
So what does this all mean? We have leakers bombing the movie's marketing, early viewers bombing its reputation over the voice acting, and the studio might just let it die quietly. Is this the new normal for legacy franchise?
To synthesize this deep dive, the leak of the Avatar movie is far more than a cybersecurity failure.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a flashpoint exposing the bitter war between corporate streaming strategies, the evolving and highly controversial rules of Hollywood cast, and a passionate fan base that feels entitled to dictate the terms of the media they...
Even if it means stepping on the artists who create it.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to mull over. We've seen fans use piracy as a weapon to punish studios for everything from streaming choices to voice casting.
Right.
But if audiences completely destroy a movie's profitability before it even legally releases, are they saving their beloved franchise or just ensuring the studio never invests in making another one?
You can't save a ship by sinking.
Thank you for joining us on Dive, Absolute Chaos. It is a messy landscape out there, but we love Unpack. Till next time.